3 people, including a 4-year-old girl, are dead after a gunman opened fire in the parking lot of a Northwest Austin Target. This week on Inside the Investigation, KXAN reporter Grace Reader breaks down how despite a long history of violence, the shooter was able to get a gun. Welcome to Inside the Investigation. This week, I have with me city government reporter Grace Reader. Grace, thank you so much for joining me today.
Absolutely, Kelly.
So, Grace, you were the first reporter that showed up to the Target after the fatal shooting earlier this week. Walk us through what you saw and what happened.
Obviously, when you respond to a scene like this, there are a significant number of first responders. So when we got to the Target, you later showed up and saw that there was a lot blocked off and a lot of first responders. We learned pretty quickly that there were several people who had died in that parking lot. We later learned that it was 3 people. 2 were found dead in that parking lot, another transported to the hospital where they later died. That alleged shooter then took off in a stolen vehicle. I then went to that scene as well. They crashed that car at that second scene and actually had kind of parked the car on top of another, gotten out, taken off again, stolen another car, and was later arrested in South Austin. Of course, we then started to fill in the gaps of what had happened and who these people were. We later learned that it was 32-year-old Ethan Nineker who was the alleged suspect in that, and we started to learn more about the victims as well, Kelly.
And let's talk about them for just a second, because I remember when we were in the parking lot, I mean, this was in the middle of the day. This is Target, where you and I just were talking about this. We both have shopped there before, so it's hard to think about this being so random and happening in that space. And we were watching moms with their kids walk over there, couples. But let's talk about the victims. We know Target employee Rosa Machuca was shot and killed in the parking lot. And she was, we now learned, engaged to be married. And we know 65-year-old Adam Chow, his granddaughter Astrid, were also killed in that shooting. And it's just hard to wrap your mind around.
Well, I think it's also important to note that this is a time where a lot of people are doing back to school shopping. And so we talked to a lot of folks who were in that parking lot who were really rattled. And many of them had taken their kids back to school shopping that day, were in that Target. And we were watching as they were pulling people out of the Target and putting them in a nearby pet store, which is where they sort of held people to make sure they had everyone who had information. And you were seeing a lot of kids, a lot of young Target employees, a lot of folks that were in there that were impacted.
It makes you just think twice, I feel like, because it's a crime scene, but it's somewhere where we've both been casually, and you like to think that you're safe. Just to move on now back to this shooter. Grace, almost immediately, police told us that the alleged gunman had a history of violence and mental illness that they were aware of. KXAN reporter Sam Stark and our senior investigative producer David Barrere looked at those criminal records. Break it down for us what they found.
Yeah, so they go back to 2012, that first charge being marijuana possession. And then there's several all the way down to a felony assault charge, which was later dismissed for punching his roommate. He's got a criminal mischief charge, and then another charge back from 2016 related to allegedly choking his girlfriend. And so they sort of escalate between 2012 and 2019. And as you mentioned, we have that all broken down over at KXAN.com for you.
There's still so much that we're trying to learn about this, and we've got our entire team, it feels like, working on trying to learn more about the people impacted by this violence, but also what led up to this. So like Grace mentioned, KXAN.com is the place to go, and we've not stopped trying to learn more about this incident. Grace, I want to thank you so much for joining us today and taking time out to talk to us about this. For those of you listening, we release a new episode every Friday morning on the KXAN Investigates podcast. You can also watch us on demand on our KXAN Plus app starting at 1 p.m. You can find the KXAN Plus app on Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, and Roku. I'm Kelly Wiley. We'll see you next time.